This video is all about chicken. This is something we use up the most around here. So if you're like me and you just love chicken, or you have some in the freezer and you need to use it up, I've got the perfect recipes for you. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 6 of my family's favorite chicken recipes. So if you need some new ideas, you're gonna love these. Now let's go ahead and get started. This first one is a Mexican chicken Alfredo, and it takes less than 20 minutes to make. I'm gonna go ahead and get my pasta cooking, and I always try to salt my water. And you're gonna need 8 ounces of pasta. I'm using the Rotini, but you could really use any kind of pasta you want. You could use shells, the elbow pasta, or you could even use the bow ties. And just cook it up according to the box instructions. While that's cooking, over in a large skillet, I added a tablespoon of oil, along with about 3/4 of a pound of boneless, skinless chicken that I cut into bite-sized pieces. And I just tried to spread those out so they would cook a little more evenly. I seasoned that chicken with a little garlic powder and pepper. Now just toss that around until that chicken is completely cooked through. Next, I'm going to add in 1 packet of the taco seasoning, and just so you know, they do carry the taco seasoning in low sodium, just in case you're watching your salt. I forgot, but also add in 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. I just stirred that around until that chicken was completely coated in that seasoning. Then I added in 1 16-ounce jar of Alfredo sauce. And like I always say, feel free to make your own homemade sauce, but I'm taking the easy way out. I also added just a little bit of water to that jar just to make sure I got all that sauce out. Now stir that around, and you can go ahead and turn your heat down to about medium-low. I let it simmer for a few minutes. Then I added in about 1/3 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. I just used the kind in the green can. And 1.5 cups of shredded cheese. I used a combination of cheddar and mozzarella. But you could even use the Mexican blend here if you wanted. Now to finish it off, I'm adding in that 8 ounces of cooked and drained pasta. Just stir it around until that pasta is coated in that sauce and that cheese is completely melted. And I have to say, that sauce is amazing. And feel free to add some veggies in there. You could add in some steamed broccoli. I'm sure that would be really good. If you need dinner in a hurry, you gotta give this one a try. I topped it with a little more shredded cheese and had a buttered croissant roll on the side. And a side salad would be great with this, but I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you, I didn't have room for it. This was plenty. It was so good. I'm excited to show you how I make my chicken spaghetti. I know there's a lot of different ways, but this is how my family likes it. I started out by boiling up 12 ounces of the angel hair pasta, or you can even use the thin spaghetti if you like that better. Make sure to only use 12 ounces though, and not the full box. And just cook that up according to the box instructions. While those are cooking, I headed over to the counter. In a large bowl, I added 1 can of cream of chicken soup. You're also going to add 1 can of cheddar cheese soup. If you can't find that, you can sub with another can of cream of chicken. I added a can of Rotel, and I didn't drain that. You're also going to add 1 cup of cottage cheese and 1/2 cup of sour cream. And for the seasonings, I added about 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper and about 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And I'm just giving that a good stir before I add in the rest. I added 4 cups of cooked shredded chicken. You could also use rotisserie chicken here. That would be really good. And I almost left something out. Do y'all do that? It'll be sitting right there on the counter in front of me, and I just totally look it over. And don't you just love it when you don't realize it until it's in the oven already? I've done that, and I've even had to take it out of the oven and pour it back into the mixing bowl to add what I forgot. Okay, I got that chicken mixture all mixed up. Now over in a greased 9 by 13 inch baking dish, I'm adding in that cooked and drained pasta. Try to spread that out into an even layer. Now I'm topping it with that chicken mixture. Make sure everything's covered, and I just try to kind of work it down into those noodles. By the way, if you're loving these easy recipes, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Now to finish up this chicken spaghetti, I topped it with 2 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. Now this goes into the oven to bake at 350, uncovered, for about 40 minutes. And I did turn it on broil the last minute or so, just to get that top a little golden brown. I know there's a lot of different ways to make chicken spaghetti, but this is something I came up with, and I was pretty proud of it, 'cause it's pretty delicious. I love it with the rotel in it. It does not make it spicy. And also, if you're not a fan of cottage cheese, trust me, you won't even know it's there. I really hope you give this one a try. I think your family will love it. I love making this chicken lazone on those super busy weeknights. To get started, I'm making up a little seasoning for the chicken. So in a small bowl, I added a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and instead of using the cayenne pepper, I just added a little bit of paprika. I also added in a little bit of pepper. Now stir that up, and we're going to take it over to the stovetop. In a large skillet, I melted 2 tablespoons of butter over about medium-high heat. And I'm using a little less than 2 pounds of chicken here. You can use tenders, or you can just do what I did and cut chicken breast into strips. Now you're going to cover the chicken with half of that seasoning. I just let those cook for about 4 or 5 minutes. Then I flipped them over to the other side and added the rest of that seasoning. Now you're just going to let them cook until that chicken is cooked through. When all that's ready, you can go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of butter, along with 2 cups of heavy cream. I'm sure you could probably get away with using whole milk here, but y'all trust me, that sauce is delicious. I did drop the heat down to a simmer, and I stirred everything together. Now you don't have to do this, but I like to thicken that sauce up a little bit, so I made up a cornstarch slurry. I added 1 tablespoon of cornstarch to 2 tablespoons of water. Then you just stir that until all the lumps are gone, and then add it right on into your sauce. And just let this simmer until that sauce thickens up to the way you like it. You could serve this over mashed potatoes or rice, but we like it over angel hair pasta. This is really easy to make, and it always turns out so good. If you love hibachi chicken, you're gonna love this. I'm starting out by making a homemade yum yum sauce. In a small bowl, I added 3/4 cup of mayonnaise. The recipe calls for Japanese mayonnaise, but I don't even have a clue what that is. Y'all have to let me know. Have you heard of that? I added a heaping tablespoon of ketchup, a teaspoon of sugar, but I used more like 2 teaspoons there, and a teaspoon of smoked paprika. And I don't have rice vinegar, but I just substituted that with 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. You're also going to add in a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and a little salt and pepper to taste. Now stir that up until it's all well combined, and feel free to taste it and add a little more something if you think it needs it. I set that aside. Now over to the stove top. In a large skillet, I added 2 tablespoons of oil, 1 tablespoon of butter, and about 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken that I cut into bite-sized pieces. I let that cook over medium heat for about 3 or 4 minutes. Then flip all those pieces over And I like to use my tongs for this just to make sure everything gets flipped over. And that way it all gets cooked. But just try not to overcook it. You just want to let it cook until it's cooked through. Now you're going to add in a teaspoon of minced garlic, a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of lemon juice, and 1/4 cup of low sodium soy sauce. Now stir that around and let it simmer for just a few minutes, and then this chicken is ready to serve. I served it over rice, drizzled it with that yum yum sauce, and had steamed broccoli on the side. And if that sauce is too thick for you, you can always thin it out with a little water. This dinner is one of our favorites. It is so good. If you hadn't already tried the white chicken enchiladas, you seriously need to. I started out by adding 4 ounces of softened cream cheese to a large bowl, along with 3 cups of cooked shredded chicken and 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. The recipe called for Monterey Jack. I didn't have that on hand, so I used a combination of cheddar and mozzarella. I also added 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Now stir that and make sure everything's mixed together. That's going to be the filling for the enchiladas. I sprayed a 9 by 13 inch baking dish with nonstick spray. I used the burrito size tortillas just because that's what I had on hand, but I do recommend the taco size ones. I stretched my filling pretty thin here by using those bigger tortillas. So to assemble this, you'll divide that chicken mixture into 8 taco-sized tortillas. You can just roll yours up, but since mine were so big, I just folded in those ends. That way I could make them fit in that dish. After you get those rolled up, you can go ahead and place them all in that casserole dish. All those are ready. Now we're going to head over to the stovetop to make up the white enchilada sauce. And y'all, this is so good. You just wait and see. In a large skillet, I added 3 tablespoons of butter. See, we're already starting off great. And after that butter was all melted, I sprinkled over 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. You're going to whisk that for about a minute or so, just to let that flour cook. And you'll want to whisk this constantly while you slowly add in 2 cups of chicken broth. And just whisk it until it's very well combined and all those lumps are gone. Next, you're going to add in 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning. Not the whole pack, just 1 tablespoon. Along with 3/4 cup of sour cream. And you're also going to add in a 4-ounce can of the diced green chilies. Now give that a really good mix and just make sure that sour cream is completely incorporated. Now you're going to remove it from the heat and head on over to the counter. Now take that sauce and pour it evenly over the top of those enchiladas. By the way, I wanted to mention, I do have a lot of new friends here, and I just wanted to say that I love y'all all, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. It really does mean a lot to me. Okay, and to finish off these enchiladas, I topped them with about a cup of shredded cheese. Now this casserole goes into the oven to bake at 350 for about 25 minutes. And I did turn the broiler on for the last minute or so. Just make sure you watch it so it don't burn. I just wanted to get that top golden brown. I topped those enchiladas with some green onions and I served it with some Knorr Spanish rice. But you could serve these with refried beans or corn, or you can just make them and eat them all by themselves. They are that good. We love Mexican food at our house, and this was absolutely delicious. This is a 1-pot cheesy broccoli chicken orzo, and it's so good. If you've never cooked with orzo before, you've got to try it. It's like a combination or a mixture of rice and pasta, like pasta in the shape of rice. In my large Dutch oven, I added a couple tablespoons of oil, along with 1 pound of boneless chicken that I cut into bite-sized pieces. I added some seasonings, I added half a teaspoon of salt, a fourth of a teaspoon of pepper, and half a teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika. Now just stir that around and make sure everything is coated in that seasoning. Then you're just going to let that cook until that chicken is cooked through. I removed it to a separate plate, covered it with foil, and set it to the side. I let it hang out in my microwave for a minute. I didn't turn it on, I just stuck it in there. Now back to the Dutch oven, I added 2 tablespoons of butter, along with half a diced onion. I let that saute for about 5 minutes or so, just until that onion started to soften. Then I added in a tablespoon of minced garlic and let that cook for a minute or so, just until that garlic becomes fragrant. Now you're going to add 2.5 cups of chicken broth, along with 1 cup of uncooked orzo. Stir that and make sure to scrape any of those bits off the bottom of the pot. Get that flavor in there from where we cooked the chicken. You're going to bring all that to a boil and then drop it down to a simmer. Now I'm adding 3 cups of the fresh broccoli florets. Give all that a really good stir. Then you're going to put that lid on and let it simmer for about 12 to 15 minutes. And you do want to stir that occasionally just to make sure that orzo does not stick to the bottom of the pot. When that orzo is tender and most of that liquid has absorbed, you'll want to stir it all up and then add in 4 ounces of cubed Velveeta cheese, along with 1 cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese and half a cup of heavy cream. Then I stirred that until everything was well combined. And lastly, I added in that chicken that we cooked up in the beginning. Now stir that and let it sit here and cook on low just until that cheese is completely melted. Then this dinner is ready to serve. We all love this one. And my dad had came down this night. If you're new here, he just lives next door. So he had some and he loved it. The kids loved it too, even with that broccoli. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes, and I will see you in the next one.